Hey folks, it's Mike, Gray 9051, and I'm here to take part in the Top 10 Tuesday, even though it's already Thursday, sorry, but who's keeping track, right? And this is the list for favorite comedies pre-2000. So this is something I can take part in. So anyway, here's my list. And the first two movies I'm going to talk about, I do not have in my collection, so I have nothing to show you. But the first one, coming in at number 10, it's kind of hard to number these because I kind of put them all on sort of an equal footing, but anyway, that doesn't matter. Just for a matter of doing a top 10 list, I'll start with number 10, and this is a movie called Little Murders, okay? Little Murders from the year 1971. And it was directed by Alan Arkin, who also appears in the film, and the screenplay was written by a guy named Jules Feiffer, who was a great comedy writer of the era. And the film stars, let's see, Elliot Gould, Marcia Rod, Vincent Gardenia, let's see, Elizabeth Wilson, and Donald Sutherland is also in it. And it takes place in New York City. And Elliot Gould and Marcia Rod, these two very countercultural, very, what's the word I'm looking for, neurotic New Yorkers meet, and they have a real attraction for each other, and they start to fall in love. So she brings him home to her apartment to meet her family, mom, dad, little brother, and it's just the weirdest, most bizarre, angst-ridden family you could ever want to find. And it's just very, very funny the way they all interact with each other. And the background for this, where the title comes from, there have been a series of random shootings, like snipers, in the city, and they're all trying to react to this change in social behavior in their environment, and it's just very funny. It's all very off the wall. It's one of those early 70s films, American films that, very cynical and totally sarcastic about everything in American life: marriage, religion, family relationships, sexuality. And I remember seeing it with my sister, and we have the same kind of sense of humor. And we were sitting in the theater, which was not very crowded, and nobody was laughing but the two of us. And we were laughing so hard, we were tears rolling down our faces, and it was just a great memory of being in a theater and having a great time. So, Little Murders, and I would like to find this on DVD. I think it's available. I'm not sure, but I would like to get it. So if anybody's seen it, I'd love to hear a comment about it. Coming in at number 9, another film I don't have, but I would like to have someday, The 7-Year Itch, 1955, directed by Billy Wilder. A great classic film starring Marilyn Monroe, Tom Ewell, Evelyn Keyes, and Sonny Tufts. And Robert Strauss is also in it. And it's just a very funny story that I'm sure everybody has seen about Tom Ewell as a family man in New York City. In the summertime, the wife, the kid, they go away to Fire Island or someplace like that to relax and keep cool while he stays in the city. And of course, his fantasies start going crazy, and he starts thinking about meeting other women and just doing all things that he's not supposed to do. And lo and behold, he meets the beautiful blonde who lives upstairs, Marilyn Monroe, who's the absolute vision of an attractive female, and she's available. So it's just a very, very funny movie, and I don't think that she's ever done a comedy that was better than this. And like in all of her films, even though she's very funny and she's very sexy, she also has a vulnerability and a kind of a childlike quality to her that makes her performance all the more real and believable. And this is the one where, of course, they're walking down the street after having seen The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they're standing on top of the subway grating, and it blows her white dress up. It's a very famous, iconic scene that made Joe DiMaggio very upset. Okay, so that's number 9. Coming in at number 8, okay, these are films that I actually have. I picked Arthur with Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli, and John Gielgud, 1980. And very funny movie. All the people in this are really good. Liza Minnelli gives a very good performance. It's kind of a foil for these two guys who were just constantly doing, verbal gags But really the star of the film is John Gielgud, who is such a classical Shakespearean actor who was saying all of these sarcastic, off-the-wall things to mainly to Dudley Moore, and it's a very funny movie. Okay, the sequel was not nearly as funny, and I have not seen the remake. I don't think I will. Coming in at number 7, going all the way back to the year 1937. This is a film that a lot of you may not know about. It's called It's Love I'm After. Okay, from Warner Brothers Studios. It stars Leslie Howard, Bette Davis, and Olivia de Havilland. And this is a rare comedy for Bette Davis, who really was known for her super dramatic roles. But she plays a stage actress who was involved with her frequent leading man, played by Leslie Howard. And they have this super dramatic way of relating to each other in their relationship. They're on again, off again, and they're constantly fighting and they're constantly bitching, and they have this great, almost constant pretentious dialogue and rapport going in between them. And Olivia de Havilland, who is a young fan of this actor, sort of comes in between them and gets involved in their twisted lives. And it's very, very sophisticated and very funny. And it's interesting because this was made in 1937. In 1934, Leslie Howard and Bette Davis worked together in a very dramatic and depressing film called Of Human Bondage over at RKO. And that was the film that made Bette Davis a star, because she played the evil bitch of all time in this film, and she was so good at it, and she just destroyed Leslie Howard in the film. Then they worked together about a year and a half later in another classic film called The Petrified Forest, in which she played a much more easier to get along with character, much more likable character. So they played together 3 times, and she didn't do a lot of comedy in her career, but when she had a chance to do it, she was very, very good, very funny. Okay, coming in at number 6, this is a film I've talked about before. This is The Ghost Breakers from 1940, Paramount Pictures, starring Bob Hope, Paulette Goddard, also featuring a very young Anthony Quinn and Willie Best, a great comedian of the time, and Richard Carlson. Perfect blending of comedy and a horror atmosphere. And Bob Hope has probably never been funnier. And Paulette Goddard was a young actress who started out working with her husband at the time, Charlie Chaplin, in a couple of his silent films. She was in Modern Times in 1936, and then in The Great Dictator in 1940. And she went on to become one of the biggest actresses of the 1940s. Yeah, very good movie. Highly recommended for people who like horror comedies. And in that vein, coming in at number 5 is the classic horror comedy of all time, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Okay, 1948, filmed at Universal International Studios, and of course Abbott and Costello meet all the monsters. Frankenstein, played by Glenn Strange, who had also played it in the House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula. They meet Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi, for only the 2nd time in his film career, and he is absolutely wonderful. They meet the Wolfman, played by Lon Chaney Jr., who is very, very good in this, and it's just wonderful. I mean, it has the atmosphere of all those great Universal classics, but it has the antics of Abbott and Costello that just make. I mean, it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. And you get to hear Vincent Price's voice at the end, because he makes kind of a very brief cameo as the Invisible Man. Okay, so kind of a portents of the future. All right, coming in next, number 4 is I'm going to do a couple of Mel Brooks films, and this is Blazing Saddles from 1974, which was so innovative and just so, roll on the floor, laugh your ass off type of film. I remember seeing this when it first came out, and I went to see it with a couple of friends, and I liked it so much that I decided, I talked my whole family into going, my mom and dad, my sister and her husband, and I sat there and I watched them laugh. My mother was laughing so hard that she was crying. It was wonderful just seeing them all be so entertained by this. I mean, this is a great, great movie. Gene Wilder, Cleavon Little, who else is in it? Madeline Kahn is in this. Oh my God. Mel Brooks himself is in it. It's just, Harvey Korman. Oh man, it's just fantastic. And Slim Pickens. Yeah. So many things you could say about this. I mean, it's just a very, very funny movie. Oh, Dom DeLuise is also in it, yeah. So coming in after that at number 3, another Mel Brooks classic from the same year. Very good year for Mel Brooks. This was Young Frankenstein, which, of course, fantastic black and white cinematography, doing a parody of all those great, great horror films of the past. Gene Wilder, once again. Peter Boyle as the Frankenstein monster. Terry Garr, Madeline Kahn. Let's see, who else is in it? Oh my God. Oh, Cloris Leachman. Cloris Leachman is so fucking hilarious in this. She is the star of the show, in my opinion. And also Marty Feldman, you know, the guy with the huge eyes. I mean, Marty Feldman was a great, great comedian. He is sorely missed. You know, may he rest in peace. But the guy was just fantastic. So yeah, Young Frankenstein. Coming in at number 2, a great film from Martin Scorsese, a change of pace for him, After Hours, from the year 1985. This is Griffin Dunne, Rosanna Arquette, Linda Fiorentino, John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara. Who else is in it? Cheech and Chong are in it. No, I'm leaving somebody out. This is a really twisted and very funny movie. Griffin Dunne plays an office worker who is, you know, mild-mannered, quiet little guy who is bored out of his mind one night, and he goes to a coffee shop, and this beautiful young girl who's a little bit twisted starts talking to him. She's played by Rosanna Arquette, who is also beautiful and a little bit twisted. So it's a perfect role for her, and it's probably the best thing she ever did. And she invites him, if he wants to come and date her, to come to Soho, the Soho neighborhood in Manhattan, and to spend the evening with her. And so he decides to do it. And every bad thing that could possibly happen to a human being happens to this guy at that night in Soho. One night in his life. This is the worst night that could ever possibly happen. And it's just absolutely hilarious, all the things that happen to him. And okay, highly recommended if you haven't seen it. And finally, number 1, I had to pick at least one Woody Allen film, so I'm picking what is considered to be his greatest comedy of all time, and that is Annie Hall, from the year 1977, which, let's see, I believe this was Best Picture of the Year. I think he also won Best Director, maybe Best Screenplay, and I think, if I remember correctly, Diane Keaton was the Best Actress of the Year. This is absolutely wonderful, innovative. Woody was at his absolute, you know, apex as a director of comedy when he made this. And it's fascinating that he, right after he did this, he made his first dramatic film, which was Interiors, the following year. And he just took a complete change of pace. And this is wonderful. I mean, everything that could possibly be in a comedy, he throws in. And this is the one that has that classic moment where Woody Allen, who plays Albie Singer, is standing in a line waiting to get into a movie with Diane Keaton, his girlfriend, Annie Hall. And there's some pretentious guy in the line next to him who is going on and on about Marshall McLuhan, the writer, and talking about his philosophy and all this stuff. And it's just driving Albie crazy. You know, so he starts getting into a little argument with this guy, and he says, I just happen to have the real Marshall McLuhan right here. And of course he pulls the real Marshall McLuhan out, who puts this guy in his place, who's standing there being shocked. And it's just a classic idea and a classic moment. I don't know, what can I say about Woody Allen's films? I'm a big fan of his. And if you haven't tried a Woody Allen film, you know, for whatever reason, if you'd like to see the best thing you ever did, you might want to start with Annie Hall. Okay. So anyway, those are my 10 films, and comments are welcome. See you later.